guess.
Right?
It's hot.
It is.
Alright, first one. Let's get over with.
Yeah, we're doing a lot today.
I'm just working on my tan.
Hey man, the birds are chirping.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do.
No.
Other than this.
Okay, well, let's see what they care about this stuff.
Probably not at all.
Yeah.
Probably not at all.
No.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. With me, I have
Some guy named Josh.
yet again. And so here's the thing, right? As far as our classes and stuff are concerned, I encourage guys to give us like an after-action report, essentially. Generally speaking, I tell them, don't tell me what we got right, because if you don't say anything, we did it right. But if you have some criticisms, send it to me through the email and all that stuff post-class. And some of our best ideas came out of that. Well, the format for this, it was a pretty solid criticism that was put up against the company, is that we used to just use blank USPSA cardboard, and all we had were the 3 zones to shoot at. So for like 2 to 4 days, guys would come out and shoot those 3 zones. So a criticism that was leveled was, I love the class, but I started going to autopilot because I had the same stuff to shoot at over and over again. So we decided to solve that problem. So with that being said, we decided, hey, I was gonna base the idea off of the combat focus shooting target, the paper one. The only issues that I had with that was, it was paper. We get hit by rain like all the time.
Yeah, if it doesn't rain, it's not us.
Yeah, so paper doesn't do very well, and these don't do terribly well either, but they hold up way, way better than a sheet of paper does in the rain and all that stuff, especially with like staples driven in them and that kind of shit. So that was the first problem. The second problem with the combat focus shooting target, and you can look that up, it's a pretty good target. It is. It's just the dots that are on it are way off to the side, where like target stand posts usually would be. And the few times that we use them in class, those posts are held together by tape, hopes, and dreams. So we took that concept, and it's not like I'm going to print any of these because it's not my target. But at the same time, we decided to tackle that concept and use it in this. So why don't you talk about what it was that you did with the stencil and all that, because all I did was get on one of these and draw on it for a while.
Well, first let's talk about why these, because that's actually part of it. If you see one of these in person, you see there's already kind of a cutout. You have the A zone, all that good stuff. Well, it was a little too much. This is the heart box area. But you tell them why, and then I'll tell them how.
Well, and here's the thing, is that like for the T zone, the brain box, right, the target we'd used before was the A zone and the brain box, and that was it. But we wanted a fair representation of that ocular cavity, so we gave it's still reduced size, so it forces dudes to shoot tight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we wanted to give it an actual zone in that way. Heart box is a heart box. I mean, freaking.
Yeah. Well, actually, let me hold this one. Right.
Yep, there it is.
So I'm a very small person.
Yeah.
And as you can see.
Yeah, and even a guy my size, where I'm 6 feet tall, you have the ocular cavity up in here, and then the chest is where it is. It's still reduced size because, yeah, sure, there's more stuff in there, and you have other stuff below that fucking chest cavity and all that. But we wanted to give people good zones to shoot at.
Yeah.
The dots themselves, the biggest thing, and I have this highlighted in a dictionary at home. To teach is to get people to learn how to think for themselves, and these dots are part of that, because you see a very solid color format on here. But generally, when we go out to class, we start it with a white face, and you have black in the heart and brain box areas in the pelvis, but then the dots are colored and numbered, right? So we start calling out random numbers and colors and that kind of stuff, and it's to get people uncaged, to start to get them uncaged from shooting in the same flat area the whole time, and that's a pretty good segue into other stuff that we do to get you to think for yourself. Because towards the end of like Pistol 2, we're just kind of like, here's the problem, go.
Yeah.
Right. And instead of just getting people the blue screen from the word go, we start to get them to think a little bit more here. And lastly, we have the pelvis box areas. This is kind of a two-pronged thing for us. because if we're doing a rifle class, you have you have zeroing targets to shoot at. A lot of times, if guys have you zero up here, depending on angles and stuff, it's a really hard sell for a lot of guys, especially in certain angles.
And you might actually sell over the berm.
Yeah,
So
depending on what your angle is, and depending on how short the berm or how worn the berm is. So lower on the target, you can actually put little dots or whatever on it. Like we'll have students write stuff. Also, I have them write their names because I'm awful with names. But what this is really good for, and the reason why we chose this size, is that with these lines here at 50 yards, it's the exact width of a front sight post on a standard AR, right? AK front sight posts tend to be a tick fatter, but it still works out, especially if you're holding at 6 o'clock on that, and there's a total difference in that. But you could choose either box, and it helps you out with zeroing and stuff. And if it's real tight, we can use the dots to help you like really tighten up that zero and get it where you need to get it. So, and additionally, when we tell guys to shoot the pelvis, that whole zone is game.
Right.
You know, so there's
a little transition too if you want to, if you get to that point.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that like if they mark it, for instance, in a rifle class, A and B, like it is on the combat focus shooting target, I could sit there and be like, odds 4 in the heart, 2 in the brain, A box in the pelvis, gun. And each, like, for instance, when I call it, like, I'll say odds, it's 2 rounds per number. And then I'll give them a number of rounds for these 2, and then a number of rounds plus a zone. So they have a lot of stuff to think about other than the shooting part. And that's kind of the big thing about this whole martial concept type deal. So it's a big reason as to why it gives people a little, quite a bit more as far as options. Because we have other commands for shooting and stuff aside of just the one target. So it's added a lot more to us, and we figured, you know, for those of you like practicing at home, or for guys that have asked us how to make these targets, or the stencil,
yeah,
here it is, really.
So the stencil, it's very simple. It's birch plywood. I forget the thickness.
Back up.
Well,
the focus is back
okay.
here.
So it's real thin, but first thing, stay away from MDF or anything that's susceptible to water, because it will soak it in and swell.
MDF is what?
Medium density fiber. Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people are going to ask, so.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Birch is pretty good. As you can see, it's a little warped because it did get rained on. Not a big deal. It's simple. This is what we did. We got together, we were brainstorming of how to do this. We traced out the brain box, the heart box, all that stuff we wanted. We came up with this. And this is a reverse stencil, so we can spray like that.
Yeah, basically just kind of like.
Yeah. So you're like, okay, cool.
Match it up, and there you go.
And then here, this was the inside diameter of
a paint can.
There's a paint can or the thing of duct tape.
Well, yeah. I believe this was a paint can.
Yeah.
I don't remember now. I know this was electrical tape because it was a little bit smaller.
So these are actually these 4 are the same size. These 2 were way smaller. Mm-hmm. And all I did was kind of trace it out. You see it on the back, and cut it out with a Dremel.
Oh, real quick before we move forward, why not medium density fiber?
It's susceptible to water, big time. It's thick, it's heavy, and it chips real easy. It'll swell. Most people make speaker boxes out of it, and if they get wet.
And I mean, you could even see this guy's a little warped because it spent some time in the rain, but at the same time, it's like, you lay this guy down on a target or something like that, like let's say that I put this on the ground and all that, it's really not that big a deal, because all you really end up having to do is, like when I sprayed it, okay, I would start with the bottom, start creeping up toward the top, and one hand on a spray on the spray paint can, the other hand on the cap, and I would just press one end down, because it was a little like this when we started, and then once you press that down, everything ends up fairly sharp.
Yeah. Well, what you could do, if it happens, you can actually, let me see it, instead of going on that side we were just on, just go on this side.
Yeah.
And do the same thing. So it's, it's two-sided if you make it pretty universal.
Yeah.
Another way to do it besides spraying through, as you see there's a bunch of paint on there, you can actually just set this on and trace around with a Sharpie of some kind of marker, pull it off, and then spot spray it so it doesn't get all clumpy and nasty like this. Mm-hmm. We found out that with the amount of targets that you need, we actually need a couple more of these. It just makes it easier. Yeah, because
before my last class in Lexington, I was one guy doing this one at a time and just doing it over and over.
Yeah.
The cool thing about spray paint, if you don't beat the fuck out of it and sit there and be like,
yeah, hose it down
like housewives do with Raid to spiders and shit. The cardboard handles it really well and it dries really fast. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And of course, don't try to spray paint in the rain and shit like that.
Well, yeah, obviously.
So
But there's all kinds of things you can come up with. If you come up with something cool or you have something, I'm interested to know because I'm a tinkerer, and I think that would be pretty interesting. And you could literally do anything with this, any shapes. You can put a big old star. It doesn't really matter.
let me get just the because one thing that he had thought up before, and at the time I was just kind of like, I gotta be able to mass produce these.
Yeah.
But this is an idea to think about, was instead of this being a negative cutout, he wanted to box this whole thing off, make it hollow, and then insert blocks.
Insert little.
So that
yeah,
so you could have different shapes and varieties of shapes and all kinds of shit.
just whatever.
Yeah.
Just be creative as possible.
Yeah. So I figure that, we would share this with you. I've been putting out free information here for years, and I figure, this is something that helps us out a lot, and why withhold it?
Yeah.
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 So you guys come and watch us for free and good information, so why not?
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed it.
And for my students that are out there, yeah, this is great. Like, you could easily put your 100-round practice a week on this without a problem. Tape it up, take it home, and then you can reuse this forever, because you've seen how far we've extended these targets because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless you got anything.
No, it's pretty basic. I mean, unless they have any questions, and I'll get in there and do my best.
Yeah, I mean, and there's that. I mean, if you don't want to take the time to make a stencil and spray paint some targets, you can certainly come out and train with us. We have a host of classes that are available. They're starting to sell out. They're starting to sell out pretty fast. And I cannot schedule anything post-September until I have my new schedule, because I'm on the Army's fiscal year. So I'll let you guys know when there is a update on that pretty soon, as far as when it comes out and all that. But if you want to come out and train with us, there are certainly classes that are still available that you can come out and do. There's like one slot available for our Louisiana Rifle 1 class, and there's still a bunch left for Rifle 2. Maine Pistol 1 is sold out. Pistol 2 still has some slots. Montana Rifle 1 and 2 both have slots still. Not a whole lot, but they still have slots for both of them. And I think pretty much everything else is sold out.
Good.
I
Good
think.
deal.
Oh, Shotgun's got 2 slots available.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, stuff happened to a couple of guys, and I had to open up a couple of slots. They had to back out. And as far as the Shotgun class goes, I mean, freaking, they're far more versatile than a lot of people give them credit for, especially in the modern rifle era and stuff like that. I like them, especially in a home defense capacity. It's not the end-all be-all, but it's one of those things that not a lot of people teach, and even fewer people teach well. So it's a 2-day class where we put all this crap together, and I think it's a fired up class. So there's a couple of slots available for that if you're interested. If you got a shotgun that you want to run the balls off of, go ahead and check us out on the website. Link for all this stuff is in the description below. You can go ahead and scroll through and on the page and find what's what and what it is that you're interested in. If you go into read more on like the tab when you see a class and you go to click on read more, it'll tell you whether or not it's sold out then and there. If you clicked on a sold out class, it's a ways out, and you want to get put on a waiting list, you shoot me an email that's provided in the description of any class that you click on, so it's easy enough.
Cool.
So yeah, there's that. If you want to join the discussion group on Facebook, you can certainly do that. I mean, there's a bajillion people there. There's a lot of good conversations and stuff that goes on. And our moderators keep shit from getting out of hand. You guys know it. It's the internet, so.
Good description.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I really got on this whole thing here.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the offer's still open. If you're a school resource officer, or if you're a teacher that's legally allowed to carry during class time and all that stuff, yeah, there's a verification process, and we'll have to shoot emails back and forth and talk about it. But you train with us for free forever. So if you want classes for that kind of stuff, hit us up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. That's about right.
Yeah. Remember, guys, regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.